My name is Peter, and in this video we're going to have a closer look at this SKODA Kodiaq and see what's new, what's better and improved. We start here at the front with a typical Kodiaq face, I think, but there are some new touches. The main ones are these headlights. They're now sort of a split design with the red body color in the middle. So we got two beams right here and the daytime running lights over here. This is also the optional matrix LED pack, and that gives us these. This is an extra LED strip throughout the grille. And it's not a full strip because there's these tiers of the grille in front of it, but it connects the left and the right side of the grille quite nicely, I think. It is of course somewhat stolen from what the Enyaq had, especially the launch editions. They had this fully lit front. Well, that looked terrible, but this is slightly more classy, and I think it really works in connecting the left and the right side of the car. If we take a little tour around the car, 19-inch wheels in this version, and with this red and the silver wheels, I think it's quite a nice combination. Personally, I would go for a slightly darker color because that's a little bit more my style, maybe with some dark wheels as well. But I think it quite works in this color combination. Standing in front of the car, you can see how big it is. It is a big car. It's actually grown a couple of centimeters almost in every direction. And it is really the size of a Skoda Superb, just a bit higher and a bit more practical. Well, I mentioned this is the plug-in hybrid. So obviously you got to get some gas. The gas cap is right here on the right side of the car, right rear. The charging port is on the front left, so remember that for later. When we come to the back, it is a typical Kodiaq design again, but it's quite new and fresh with these new tail lights. I think it looks quite nice. And obviously we got the big Skoda logo here with the Skoda lettering with the little roof on the S, because it's of course a Czech way of pronunciation here. The big strength of the SKODA Kodiaq and Skodas in general is of course the boot. This is truly enormous. I'm not sure if there's a bigger boot in this category at all available. It is truly cavernous. I can go inside and show you how big it is. This is how big it is. So washing machines, dryers, your kitchen, your uncle, everything fits in here. No issues whatsoever. So that is actually quite cool. I quite like that from Skoda. I have the same in my Superb. The space that you get for the money that this car costs is fantastic. You can go even bigger if you go for a petrol or diesel only variety of the Kodiaq, because this is the plug-in hybrid, so I'll show you. There is a cubby down here for your charging cable, which is great, but if we lift this up, you can see the battery pack. So that takes up quite a lot of space, and if you take a diesel or petrol only car, then there's even more space in the boot, and you can also get a 7-seat option with a third row, and then the seats will be right here. Finishing the tour over here, the charging port, like I told you, left front is charging, right rear is petrol. Opening this up, you can see it's your pretty standard affair here with some 11 kilowatt charging at home, and you can charge, fast charge up to 50 kilowatts in public places. So that is great for your trip to the builder's yard, supermarket and so on, where you can charge that 20-30 minutes when you're out shopping, you come back and your battery is full again. So that's perfect, and that really ties into the sort of plug-in hybrid lifestyle. Driving mostly electric in and around your house, and then having the option of the combustion engine if you want to go far. So it's really the best of both worlds. Sitting here in the cockpit of the SKODA Kodiaq, it is all very familiar. It is a whole bunch of parts from the Volkswagen Group, which is not a bad thing. I mean, if you take good parts from your sister brands, why not reuse them, right? Starting with the steering wheel, that is of course across the board a Skoda now with real buttons and real scroll wheels, so that's very nice to work with. Physical buttons are always better than capacitive buttons, and it's also not very busy. So you got your settings for your radio over here, you got some system settings over here to change things on your driver's display, and that is it. So that's quite nice, and they've done that because they've moved the cruise control to a little stalk here behind the steering wheel. So that's the Audi way to do it, but it frees up a lot of space here, so that's actually quite nice that the steering wheel is not too busy. Behind the wheel you got two pedals. I'm not really sure why, because it's only a 1.5 liter engine that we got under the hood. So you're not going to be flipping through gears, because why would you? This has the 6-speed DSG, which is smooth enough. I've never used it in the week that I had this car, so I'm not really sure why that is still there. On the left hand you got your indicator stalk with the wiper settings obviously, and here on the right you have the drive selector that we know from all the Volkswagen ID models and all the Skoda models by now as well. And you even have a real physical engine start-stop button here. So that's actually an interesting touch. I'm not really sure why that is still there, because the car recognizes when you're in and out of the seat anyway. Moving on to the middle, the screen is also very familiar. We now see that in basically any Volkswagen, Skoda, Cupra and Seat product. Works fine. It's exactly what you want from a screen. I think it's big enough this way, and it has all the creature comforts that you need. So on the bottom you can go to your music, your phone, your Navi, all the standard tiles, and those are always in frame. And here on the top you can go to your car, your battery, basically all the things that you use on a daily basis, and those are always up there as well. So it's a familiar screen. It works well. It's flat on the dash, so it's not angled towards the driver or anything, making it easy for the passenger to operate. And all around it's nice. It works well, it's fast enough, all is good. Moving down the center console, we still have these nipples here that we also saw in the Superb. I didn't really like them there. I don't like them here either, despite the fact that I prefer a physical way of moving the air around the car like this. But the nipple feels a bit cheapy. Below that we have the smart dials. Now that is an excellent solution from Skoda to combine physical controls with a digital touch. So these dials are multifunctional. You can see with the middle, for example, it's now on ventilation, so I can actually change how hard the fan is blowing. That is great. If I press it, it moves to the volume. I can adjust that. If I press it again, I go to my drive modes, and if I press it again, I go back to the ventilation. So depending on the options that you have in the car, depending on the, for example, the seat, if I press this one, it's now on the climate control. Press it once, it goes to the seat heating up and down. If you have seat cooling, you can press it again and it goes there, and so on. So depending a bit on the options that you have on the car, these smart dials can do more or less things. And it's a great solution. It's nice to adjust the temperature just with a little click without having to go to the screen. And it's nice to do those things on the fly, but still have sort of the solution, if you want to call it that way, of not having too many buttons and things going on, and multifunctional dials this way. So that's quite nice. If we move a little down, we got two USBs here to charge everything and anything. A little cubby, in this case for my garage clicker, and 2x wireless charging down here. Here obviously we have the patented SKODA wipey thingy to keep your screen clean from all your greasy finger touches. And some cup holders. Here fits a small bottle, but that one doesn't fit here. These cup holders can also be expanded. If I take the key out like this, you have two cup holders. Well, not the most innovative solution in the world, but I suppose it works in a pinch. So that is cool. A cup here for your key. Typical glossy, nasty Volkswagen Group key, but okay. And we have a big bin down here with a lot of space for anything that's flying around your car. To cover that all up, you're going to take the bottle out, but there's two garage doors here, and everything is nice and clean, no dust falling in, and you can put your bottle up there. The only thing is that this is obviously slightly hard to clean with these little grooves inside, so you got to get your little paintbrush out. Now the highlight of the day is the glove box. Down here there's one. Obviously you know what that is and what that does, but there's another one up here. So that's actually quite nice to put your sunglasses, to put whatever you have laying around the car that you use often but don't want to sort of stuff down here. So that's actually quite nice, and you can even put some valuables in there in case you have those laying around in the car. I don't think that's a place most car burglars will look in. So that is the cabin of the SKODA Kodiaq. It's actually quite comfortable in here, a lot of space. These seats are very nice too. These are not the full-fledged sport seats, because those get a bit narrow. Personally, I prefer these seats because they're a lot wider, and I'm quite wide as well, so I actually fit in these seats quite comfortably. So I would always pick these seats over the full sport seats. So if I look at my own driving behavior, I drive between 100 and 150 kilometers a week around my house. And that's stuff like taking my kids to sports, play dates, running errands in town, meeting people around town, and it's all sort of close to my house, let's say within 20 kilometers of the house. And for those little bits, when you use your combustion engine, it's not warm yet, and then you're already at your destination, and it has to restart again, and it just doesn't feel nice. So this hybrid drivetrain with the 100 kilometers of range really offers you that flexibility of driving electric when you need to, in and around town. Emission zones and environment zones are a thing these days, but still offer you the option to use the combustion engine if you want the range. So that's the perfect combination in many ways. And of course there's a little bit of a weight penalty, and there's obviously the complexity penalty as well. But in these modern systems with 100 kilometers of range, it's really usable, and it's really friendly for you as the driver as well. You plug it in at home, you have a full charge, and you do that once a week, and you're basically good for all your little trips. And when you want to visit grandparents or something, or go to Germany like in my case, I got a German wife. You can use the combustion engine and all as well. So no things like range anxiety or anything of that nature. So that's great, and I have to say that this system is also great in that collaboration between the combustion engine and the hybrid system. So obviously when the two are switching, especially when the battery is empty, you notice when the engine kicks on if you really pay attention. But I've been driving this car for about a week now, and it sort of blends into the background and you don't even notice anymore. And it's really nice that it's that smooth, that you can just, drive the car like you normally would, and the car figures it out for you. Now, obviously you can change the settings a little bit with the driving modes in order to sort of determine what the car does when. You even can put it in full dedicated EV mode if you really want to. But it's quite nice that the car sort of figures it out for you, and it doesn't really require any thinking. So that's good. And the range is also realistic. If I look at my battery screen here, I got a little about, let's say half of the battery is still full. And if I look at my range, it's about 40 kilometers. So, the 100 kilometers checks out, which obviously depends a little bit of where you drive it. In and around town is different than on the highway, but it's very, very usable. Now, the true power of the SKODA Kodiaq obviously is here in the rear. This car has grown a few centimeters, but it's so big in here that you wouldn't even know where to put it. This seat is in my driving position, and I'm 183 tall, and the seat does move forward a little bit when I put it in ignition. And look at the space that I got. It's almost a full hand of extra space that I got sitting behind myself. And I got the seats all the way pushed back right now. I can pretty much stretch out here. There's so much space under the seat for my feet that I can be super comfortable back here. Even with 183 tall and about 90 plus kilos, there's so much volume back here that I have no problem getting comfortable in here. So that's actually fantastic. The materials and the quality back here is also good, pretty much on par with what you find in the front. And there's a lot of small creature comforts here that make life back here good. So we got a sunshade, which is always handy for your kids, that you don't have to put any kind of nonsense on the window, any kind of stickers. So that's smart. You got the ambient lighting here. You got nice touch points all around. You got some additional phone holders that you can order separately. Simple pockets with an extra little pocket for your phone or your tablet. Yeah, those things are just nice and make life easy back here. We got some standard stuff here too, but still quite nice that it's included. So we got some USBs down here for charging and your 12 volt socket for the cool box. That's nice. Seat heating in this version and climate adjustment, obviously. Also these nipples that we saw in the front. Not a huge fan, but it's actually quite nice that you can still adjust the direction of the airflow back here. And we got this big plastic bin that you can use for cup holders or just a storage thing that you can also remove if you want to make some space for people sitting in the middle. So yeah, all around super nice. Well done, good quality all around. You can see I got about this much headroom sitting here on the side. If I move to the middle, I actually have more headroom. Then it goes up to this far. And even here in the middle, even though I sit a little bit higher, there's still plenty of comfort here and also plenty of space for me to sit. I wouldn't go as far as to say that I can sit next to myself 3 times, because obviously I'm enormously broad-shouldered. But 2 adults on the side and a kid in the middle, no problem whatsoever. So old people, babies, dogs, washing machines back here, no issues whatsoever. There is so much space. This is truly the strength of the Kodiaq, I think, especially when you consider this is aimed at families and practicality. This is everything you want. Opening up the center console, maybe not exactly what you want, but still functional. Pretty clean, but with this cup holder situation here in the front. If I put my bottle in here, it fits. Moves around a little bit and you can squeeze it here in the middle one. But more. Not the most elegant solution, but pretty functional. Last but certainly not least, the view through the car is crucial for rear passengers. I've said it in other reviews as well. It is very important for the comfort back here that you can see what's happening around you. Especially with this darker interior, you want a lot of light and a lot of possibility to look through the car. So these seats are quite large, but it's still, quite easy to look around. And we have the panoramic roof option in this car, which actually provides a ton of light for the whole interior. Especially when you have a darker interior, it is very nice to have the panoramic roof option just to brighten the whole inside of the car up. You can see, for example, that these windows are quite high. So when kids are sitting here, the window line is up to their ears. So then this extra light really adds to the comfort back here and for the overall pleasure of sitting back here while driving. So especially the combination between the hybrid drive and the engine is quite nice. Something that is not so nice are the brakes, because obviously you got the regen and friction brakes also working together. That combination is not that good, or at least not in this car. Here on a straight road in dry circumstances, it's not an issue at all. Even though the stopping power in general doesn't feel very impressive, to be honest. It all stops and slows down, but I would have liked it to have a bit more confidence in the brakes with a car this size and weight. But when it gets a bit wet, a bit greasy, a bit slippery, the transition from regen braking to friction braking doesn't feel very good. I locked up a few times, like ABS kicking in. I'm not really sure what it is, but yeah, not a nice experience altogether. All around though, the driving experience is great. Like I said, the combination of the hybrid drive with the engine is very smooth and very nice, and you don't really notice it after a while anymore. And then it just becomes a very nice and relaxing car. Obviously, you got to deal with the size of the car. You know, in parking garages and tight spaces, yeah, you just have to deal with the size of the vehicle. But once you're going, everything fits inside. Holidays, children, senior citizens, babies, no issues. Snowboards, you can pack it all in the back and you still have space left. And yeah, it's just a nice machine to cover distance in if you want to, and equally nice to just transport people and things around in and around town. So as far as that goes, it does exactly what you want from a vehicle like this. And I think in considerable style, it's a good looking car, especially this new generation of SKODA products. It's handsome on the outside, it's good on the inside. The things we use here on the inside, like I said in the cockpit overview, are nice to touch. Materials are good, and it all works very well ergonomically. So it's just a generally nice place to be. I would always pick the plug-in because the mild hybrid with 150 horsepower simply doesn't have enough power for the size of the car. It's all drivable, I'm sure, but 200 horsepower in this one is what you want. On top of that, you get the added benefit of being able to drive electric for about 100 kilometers in and around your house. And I think with that, it is such a compelling package that it is definitely the one to go for. You can debate if you need the top of the line one. I think the middle tier one for 48, you can spec that up a little bit with some toys. You have quite the deal for the size and the style of the vehicle you get. After a week with this car, there's really not much to fault. The only thing I can think of is really that you have to deal with the size. Obviously, all this practicality and the boot space and the space in the rear comes with the size of the car. So, you know, parking garages, parking at your supermarket and so on can be tricky. But other than that, it is such a good deal for such a good price that I think SKODA really nailed it on the head here. The quality is fantastic inside. The quality on the outside is a good looking car. And the quality of the ride is great, and the quality of the drivetrain is great. So I think overall it is such a compelling package if you need a large vehicle for your family, your dogs, your kids, your mountain bikes and everything else, that if you want something in this price class, look no further. I don't think there's a better deal out there. And that's all I got for you in this video. Thanks for watching. Give it a sub to the channel. That's always highly appreciated. That way you won't miss any of the upcoming videos. I know this channel has been sort of dormant for a while, but you can expect a lot more videos coming from me in the months to come. We're going to drive a lot of exciting cars also in the new year, 2025. So give it a sub, give it a thumbs up, and let us know what you think. For now, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.